I just want to do a brief lesson on Romans 11, and this is just a One West. IUIC is up here, but this is a One West teaching. 90% of the camps teach this way. All right, and this is not an attack. This is just we got to tighten up the doctrine as the light shines, as we grow more, as we become more in the limelight. We have to and people are this, the spiritual warfare is mounting up, you know what I'm saying? So we have to make sure that what we're teaching is correct, and we should all want to know the truth, and these things have to be challenged, man. I don't things have to be looked at, and Romans 11 is one of those things, man. It's a stumbling block for Israel. But we're gonna go through this thing and see where the error lies in our understanding of Romans 11. So we listen to the bishop, and salute to IUIC, man. That church blitz, it's a motivation. Y'all doing great work, man. You know what I'm saying? Doing great work. Continue doing it, but we got to continue to grow also in wisdom. You know what I'm saying? In wisdom and understanding of the text. Let's look and see here.
Verse 15. For if the casting away of them
For if the casting away of them, who was cast away? The scribes, the Sadducees, the Pharisees of the kingdom of Judah that rejected Christ.
So that's very good that he labeled the them. The casting away of them, Bishop Nathaniel says, is the scribes, the Pharisees, the Sadducees who rejected Christ. And if you know anything about the scribes, Pharisees, these are small groups. They pretty much control the people. All right, and this is how they got all our disciples having to run up out of these synagogues. Even if you look at the last class we did on the Pharisees and the history of the Pharisees, they came up with the whole concept of having these synagogues in different locations. Before that, you would just go to the temple. But they the one that came up with the whole synagogue type ordeal, man. Make sure y'all go check out that class. Powerful lesson. But he says the them is them, scribes, Pharisees, Sadducees who rejected Christ, trying to label it like they're the only ones that did it. And I'm saying these are the most influential people in Israel at the time. Their word moved everybody. Just as Bishop Nathaniel's word will move pretty much most of the people in Israel. Ain't gonna move all of them because Israel's some stiff-necked rebellious, but the scribes and Pharisees were on that level, probably even greater. All right.
For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world.
What reconciled us? The death of Christ.
Why he brought Christ in this? He said, but the casting away of them who he labeled as the scribes, Pharisees, and Sadducees, if the casting away of them be reconciled to the world, then he says, well, what reconciled us? Christ. No, you just read what reconciled you is the casting away of you. You see what I'm saying? And this way is this thing really becomes problematic. Christ did reconcile us with his blood, but that's not what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a reconciliation of a people that were never there. Honestly, they were never his people. Okay, they were never his people. But we're gonna prove that further. But I just wanted to show the error. That's just a major error in just reading. You just added a whole commentary to that verse that's not there. The casting away of them was the reconciling of the world. And okay, you know how we gonna say the world is Israel, and we gonna have to drop that also. I know you're screaming and crawling, but ye men of Israel, you need to really look at that. Ye men of Israel, you need to really look at that. All right, examine that one too.
Sacrifice of Christ. Understand that. The sacrifice of Christ reconciled the world of Israel to God again. Go ahead.
What shall the receiving of them be?
What shall the receiving of them be? Meaning of them that stumbled, them that fell.
but life from the dead.
They shall have life from the dead. Meaning, if those scribes, those Pharisees, those Sadducees repent, they shall have everlasting life. That's what Paul is saying.
Romans 11, verse 15.
And so you missing something great. You missing something. You're missing something very powerful. You need to understand that. And I'm gonna drop that. I mean, you need to understand that what Paul's dealing with, man. Where would I start, man? Let's start at Romans 11 and 11. Let me see if I can share my screen real quick. But yeah, that oh man. So we're gonna see here. I want y'all to read this together with me. Romans 11. All right, let's start at verse 11. Look, Lord, they have killed the prophets and digged down the altar. Come on, now, who did that? The scribes, Pharisees, the Sadducees. All right, verse 11. It says, "I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid, but rather through their fall, salvation is come unto the Gentiles for to provoke them to jealousy." So with our understanding, we'll have to say, if we're saying that the Gentiles here is the northern kingdom, we will be saying that the Pharisees, Sadducees, and those who didn't believe of the southern kingdom fell. Then it'll bring in, salvation will come unto the northern kingdom, and it's going to provoke the southern kingdom to jealousy. Now, does that make sense, man? Our people coming back in, Peter saying, writing this letter to the 12 tribes of Israel, these folks going out here proselytizing. We seeing the scattered in Acts 2. We seeing all the scattered from Israel coming in. Will that provoke us to jealousy? Is that really making us jealous? But let's continue. Now, if the fall of them be the riches of the world, and the diminishing of them be the riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness? Now, the fall of them, who is the them? The them is really Israel, man. The them is really Judea. It's really them, those unbelievers. All right. They fell. And the fullness of them will going to be much greater. Now, if the diminishing of them was, meant riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness? How much greater is going to be when Israel comes back into the fold? For I speak to you Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify my office. To magnify his office means I don't know if y'all ever seen that Diddy video where he just going crazy, like, give me more, I need more, I got that done, I'm a machine, all I want to do is do the work. You know what I'm saying? He just got a fire. And so Paul is saying, listen, man, I magnify my office. I'm going to do much, much more. I'm going to exhaust everything that's in me. I'm a labor way more. I'm going to increase my labors to magnify my office. And why? If by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh. Okay? Them which are my flesh. He wants to make them that is his flesh jealous. That's what emulation means. Okay? For if the casting away of them, with verse 15, if the casting away of them, who's the them? My flesh. Paul's flesh. Who is Paul's flesh? Israelites. Who is Paul's flesh? Israelites. Who is the them? All right. If by any means I may provoke them to emulation, them which are my flesh, and might save some of them. I might save some of them, because we read earlier, Israel, say, what then? Has Israel not obtained that which it seeketh? But the election have obtained it, and the rest were blinded. The rest of Israel was blinded. Only the election, only a remnant really understands what the Hamashiach came to do. The rest of Israel is blinded. According to it is written, God have given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that should not see. Who he's given the spirit of slumber to? Israel. Verse 9. And David said, let their table be made a snare and a trap and a stumbling block and recompense unto them. Who he's talking about? Israel. Let their eyes be darkened that they may not see. Who he's talking about? Israel. All right. And so I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid. Who? Israel. They haven't, they stumbled, but they ain't gonna just fall, but rather through their fall come unto the Gentiles. It's a different nation of people. Let's continue on. Let's drop back down to for if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be? Okay, so if the casting away of Israel be the receiving of the other nations, the world, man, of everybody. I'm sorry, y'all. I know it's gonna hurt your feelings. Of everybody. What shall the receiving of them be? Okay, and so if the fall of Israel was able to make, and he's talking to Gentiles here. If the fall of Israel allowed them to be able to receive salvation, how much more will it be for Israel to come in? How much more beneficial is it going to be for Israel to come back in for you Gentiles? Where I'm at, but the reconciler of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy, and if the root be holy, so are the branches. And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree, who he's telling thou are a wild olive tree. You are a wild olive tree. Who's the audience he's speaking to? Who can be a wild olive tree? That's a tree that's not connected to the natural branches. All right, the northern kingdom was part of those branches. The northern kingdom is not a wild olive tree. It was broken off, but it's not a wild olive tree. And so you'll have to go back through this text and put these things into place. All right. You from a wild olive tree were grafted in among them and were and with them partakers of the fruit and fatness of the olive tree. Boast not against the natural branches. So he's telling them not to boast against the natural. You're really only here to make Israel jealous, to bring them back in. And this is not a new concept. Let's look at Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 21. This was the plan the whole time. 32, and then we're gonna go back to the Romans. What I said, 31:21, 32:21. It says, they have moved me to jealous with that which is not God. They have provoked me to anger. And this provocation, this being provoked. What point is this? All right, this is when Northern Kingdom, Southern Kingdom are together. They both have provoked me with anger, with their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. Had I given this word to the other nations, they would have listened. Again, I say this all the time, man. A lot of times, just like kids, until a kid see another kid playing with the toy, the kid don't be studying the toy. But as soon as they see another kid pick up the toy, they running over there crying, talking about, give me back my toy. It ain't yours. It's mine. And that's what we do. That's what we do out there on the street corner. It's mine. It's mine. It's not for you. Get away, Esau. Get away. Get away, you butt licking Hamite. It's mine. No. God is mine. When you really didn't want nothing to do with them till these folks picked them up. But that was all of the plan. That was all. It was planned out that way. They were used. The other nations were used to bring you back in. Just like affliction is used to bring you back in. But y'all done got numb to affliction. But he knew that jealousy would work. And that's why we have these conversations. That's why we're struggling with that Romans 11. It's out of jealousy. It's part of the jealousy. Let's go back to the Romans. Let's go to Romans 10. Because I told you it started about 9. Let's go to Romans 10. Let's look at, I want to say like 21:19. It says, watch this. But I say, have they not heard? Yes, verily, their sound went into all the earth, and their words unto the ends of the world. But I say, did not Israel know? First Moses say, I will provoke you to jealousy by them that are no people, and by a foolish nation I will anger you. But Esaias is very bold and saith, I was found of them that sought me not. Okay, he was found of a people that sought me not. I was made manifest unto them that asked not after me. Who? Come on, y'all. But but to Israel he said, all day long I have stretched forth my hand to a disobedient and gainsaying people. All right. And this is not just the scribes, Pharisees, and the Sadducees. All right. This is all of Israel. It's a disobedient, gainsaying people. They all chatter. They all agree with that leadership. Go ahead and kill them. Give us the thief. I say then, have God cast away his people? Not the scribes, Pharisees, and Sadducees, but his people. God forbid, for I am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. God have not cast away his people, which he foreknew. Were ye not what ye not what the scripture saith of Elias, how he made intercession to God against Israel, saying, Lord, they have killed the prophets and dig down thine altars. I am left alone and they seek my life. Who did it? Man, Israel. Lord, they have killed the prophets and dig down the altars and left me alone, and they seek my life. But what saith the answer? What saith the answer of God unto him? I have reserved myself 7,000 men, all right, who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. Even so, then, at this present time, there is a remnant according to the election of grace. There's a remnant of who? A remnant of Israel, man. A remnant of these Jews, Judea. All right. Most of Israel is blinded. Like we read earlier, you should keep on reading in Romans. Most of them are blinded. It wasn't just the leadership that did that. We got to stop saying that. All right. These people followed the leadership. So all of them guilty. All of them got that blood on them. They said as a nation, let this blood be upon us. Let this blood be upon us. That's what he said, man. That's what not the phrase. That's what all the people chanting. So, just make sure y'all go back through that thing, man. What then? Has Israel not obtained that which it seeketh for, but the election? Only a remnant. Only a remnant. So majority of them are blinded. There is a remnant. All right. We can't just say the scribes, Pharisees, and Sadducees. And then we know he just went completely off with the reconcile. It just didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense. When he went to the 14, if by any means I may provoke emulation to them. No, Shalakia. For if the casting away of them be reconciling of the world. And then he said, the reconciling of the world is Christ. It's saying for the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world. The reconciling of the world came about for the casting away of them. So you'll have to say, who's that world there? Who's that world there? And who's that them? All right. And who's that them? And then you're missing the whole point, because what shall the receiving of them be? It's telling you that the receiving of them is going to be even greater than the casting away of them, which reconciled the world. And I yield with that, y'all. Like I said, I don't want no smoke. I don't want no smoke with y'all, man. I don't want no smoke with y'all, IUIC. I just want y'all to go back and look over this thing, man. You know what I'm saying? I just want you to go and look over it. Just look over it. Look over Romans 9, 10, and 11. Just read those chapters together and drop the pre-notion. Drop the pre-notion of Gentiles because really when you go into that, I know we go into the Zondervan dictionary, that word there is Grecian. I don't even want to take you down that road, but that word there is Grecian, a Greek speaking Jew, and it's used in the text maybe 3 times. That's why you have to use the see. We'll go to the Zondervan, but we don't want to use the Strongs. We got to stop that. We got to stop that. Like you got to use the concordance to see exactly where that word at. That word for Grecian, that word for Gentile is two different words. That word for Greek is two different. It's three different words. So we gotta be careful. You know, we gotta use all the tools, man. Use all your tools to get your information, man. And don't be biased and just be humble, man. Folks ain't going nowhere. Just say you did it wrong. I know it's hard, and I had to do it myself, but nowhere near the level of a humongous camp like IUIC. You know what I'm saying? So I know it's difficult. But you know, I pray the Most High gives you strength to see this thing and to make the corrections and to lead our people, you know, in truth, man, and start being lights unto the world, lights unto these Gentiles, and this thing could start moving. Start moving with that. All right, with that, I hope this thing was edifying to the body, man. Y'all be blessed again. I don't want no smoke, but y'all be blessed, man. Love all of y'all, Israel. We gotta give the correction, and this is that love. All right, Shalom.